kind of going to be a breakdown of Brock Purdy's performance, but what he did so well in that last drive that kind of we've all been waiting for Brock Purdy to do. All year, I've been saying Brock Purdy has not had that career-defining moment, right? You know, he's good from playing from ahead. He's made some splashy deep down he's shown that he has a pretty accurate deep ball. But my big thing was, can Brock Purdy play from behind? Can he lead a game-winning drive? And he really hasn't done it this year, nor last year. The only time this year that he did it was against the Browns, and they would have won that game had Jake Moody. I will get to him later. I have a topic in my banners section that says the kickers were the story of why the Packers lost. So I will get to kickers in a minute. That was crazy in itself. But Brock Purdy, like I said, hasn't led a ton of game-winning drives. And I feel like in the first half, I could look at my notes. I really only made notes for the first half because the game was just, I had friends over and the game was so tight. I was talking with them. I wasn't actually focusing on making a ton of notes. I do have notes for the first half, but Brock Purdy generally over the whole entire game was kind of inconsistent. There were times where guys were open and he kind of overthrew them, or it was slightly out of the receiver's range. I know that I want to say it was, I'm trying to look if I have it on my, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to look at my notes real quick. There was a few passes to Ayuk. Like, there was this one pass in the first half where Purdy tried to drive it about 15, 20 yards downfield, and it was outside of Ayuk's range, and he had to dive out, and it was almost an interception. And so there was a lot of those throws during the game, especially the first three quarters, that were just overthrown or just really inaccurate, which I credit a lot to the rain. Purdy, he's not a good rain quarterback, and I think that was made very clear tonight, and I think that was made very clear all the way back in the Browns game. Just the small hands, it gets to him, the rain. And so we saw that. I think, and so then so fast forward to the fourth quarter more, even that last drive, that last touchdown drive, he even said in his kind of post-game interview while walking off the field, he said, I started to settle down and make the right checkdowns and make the right throws. Basically what the Niners did the last two drives, because they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter. The last two drives, I believe they scored. The Niners, what Brock Purdy did, I feel like, especially in the first half, but the third quarter as well, he was trying to drive the ball downfield a lot. And it led to almost interceptions, two almost interceptions. And so what he did in those first three quarters were he was trying to drive the ball. He was trying to make a little bit more splashy plays. Those last two drives, though, we saw him check the ball down, especially the last drive. The drive before that, the 49ers got an interception, and we didn't really have to go far, and we kicked a field goal. But the drive after, the touchdown game-winning drive after, he was just making these short out routes, these check downs, running it to McCaffrey, and we drained a lot of time off the clock. And he was just really settling in. So, and back to my point of what makes QBs great. Every good QB is going to have a bad game, but it's what you do at the end of the game to get your team back in it. And that's what made Brock Purdy, I think he made his statement tonight. He didn't play great the whole entire game. I can look at his stat line. Let me look at his stat line. 23 for 39. Didn't play great the whole entire game. And then that last drive, we were in striking. He did just enough to kind of keep us within range. Our defense played really well down the stretch to keep us in range. And He did what all great quarterbacks do when they're having a bad game. They come up in the clutch. And that's an answer that a lot of fans around the NFL looking in, that was a knock on Purdy, is he hasn't really been in high-pressure situations. Well, this was a high-pressure situation in the rain. So that's what makes QBs great, and that's what made Brock Purdy great today. And you also got to understand, he threw it almost 40 times in this game, 39 times. So this is probably the most he's thrown it in a game ever. And he was 23 for 39. The big thing, he didn't turn it over. And again, there were 3 really, I'm surprised he didn't turn it over. And that's where my concern comes, is the Packers defense, it's very young and it's good. And the pass rush, I mean, the blitzes that they were sending at Brock Purdy and the fake disguise blitzes were really good. I think Joe Barry actually did a decent game at calling this, a decent I think Joe Barry, I mean, a lot of Packers fans have not been happy with their defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, but I think he did a decent job tonight. I just think that Brock Purdy, the Packers defense is very undisciplined. Well, as far as what I'm trying to say is they didn't capitalize on those gimme interceptions that Brock Purdy gave them. I feel like great top-of-the-line defenses like the Ravens defense, those defenses take advantage of things that quarterbacks give them. The Packers defense did not take advantage of that, and that's why I feel like their defense just isn't great. That's kind of what separates the Packers defense to the elite defenses in the league. So